Weddings are a lot of fun, but planning can be kind of tough. There are so many details to think about, and it's easy to forget what's really important along the way.
And if you've watched this series before, you'll have heard a lot of advice from us and from other wedding vendors about planning sustainable events. But we haven't yet heard from married couples themselves.
So this season, we've invited 4 recently married couples to a dinner party to chat about their wedding planning experience, the good, the bad, and everything in between. They'll sit down with our friend Sarah, an event planner here in Victoria, to chat about their own weddings and to share their insights.
Throughout the night, we'll be treated to deliciously scrappy ackies and local libations. So let's sit around the table and talk about how to get you sustainably wed. Well, welcome to our dinner party. All 4 of our couples got married in the past 5 years, and they all had very different celebrations. So to kick things off, let's meet everyone and learn a bit more about their weddings.
Michael and Casey, do you want to start?
Wow, we get to start. My name is Casey. This is my partner, Michael. We got married on October 8th, 7th and 8th. We had a separated wedding. So 2-day event where we had the ceremony, intimate, only 4 people, our witnesses and Michael and I. And then the next day we had our fake ceremony with all our friends and family. And a drag brunch. So that kind of sums it up. And
Beautiful. Lovely.
I'm gonna let you take this one. You did most of the planning.
So Rad and Rob, aka R squared, now are cubed because of our son. But our wedding day was a surprise, not to us, but to everybody else, mostly everybody else.
No, we just got married.
And it was a perfect reflection of who we were, and while keeping in mind all the things that we love and the people we love.
I love that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
We're Simon and Allie, and our wedding day was pretty DIY. We're very lucky that our rental has an enormous backyard, and that was the foundation of most of the wedding. We did the ceremony at a park, Tower Point? Yeah, Tower Point, and the reception in our backyard.
Yeah.
And we made it look like a, I don't know.
It looked professional.
Yeah.
It was like a professional venue.
That's what everyone said.
Lots of help from friends and family, so it was.
And you were during COVID?
Yeah.
Nice. So that extra fun thrown in.
Just to spice it up.
Excitement changes.
Yeah, we are Alana and Navio. I think, what would be the best word to describe our wedding? Casual? Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. We had kind of a nice blend, what we think, of kind of some formal elements, but also just keeping things like really casual and kind of focused on the people who were there with us. So
yeah, and then the experience of being in the moment with those people.
Yeah, we're from 2 different provinces, so it's like our worlds kind of collided on that day, which was really
Interesting. Very cool. So you all have very different experiences and stories as to how you got to your wedding day and what it looked like. And I have to say, I'm so excited to chat through today. To get the ball rolling, I would love to hear your perspective on your feelings about the day, looking back now. So some of you are just a couple months out of your wedding, some are 4 or 5 years out, so it's been a while. Curious as to when you started the process, so before you got married, what was it that you were most looking forward to on your wedding day? What were you so excited about that you can remember?
I know for me, it was just getting to spend it with family and friends and just to really have it be a celebration of the next steps moving forward, a commitment to each other formally. I mean, we'd kind of done a commitment to each other personally. That's what you do when you get into a relationship. But yeah, it was interesting to plan a celebration of us moving on to that formal relationship.
No, that makes sense. So bringing everyone together and actually the reason behind the marriage, and less about, you know, all the flowers and the celebration and things like that. But,
yeah, it was very much more so just about celebrating our journey.
Yeah, but I do remember afterwards that I was like nitpicking about things, about being like, oh, we should have done this, we should have done that. And now, like, looking back on it, I was like, nobody cared about any of that stuff.
Yes.
Well, they didn't know they were going to a wedding.
That is very true. Yeah.
Was anybody like offended, or was anybody?
So we only got one.
Sorry if I'm asking.
One person, my mother,
Right.
whose only offense was she had just bought shoes for our actual date. And it was very much said with levity. She was not serious about it, but during you guys perfectly captured it in the video. It's me hugging my mom, and in my ear she's whispering, "You couldn't have waited? I just bought shoes for your event."
Okay, I'm excited to talk about this when we get to like the parents and guests part of everything. But yeah, that makes sense. Bringing together family and friends and having that maybe similar to Navio and Alana, what you were most looking forward to?
Oh, no.
Yeah. I think for me, it was really important for us to focus on the experiences we made and we're going to have with guests. Whereas for Alana,
I was focused more on the memories, like keeping and preserving the moments that we had with our favorite people. So yeah, I was like, video, photography, and Navy was like, well, what are we going to take pictures of? Food, drinks, right? So
good balance.
So it being a creation and capturing.
Yeah.
So it worked out like organically too. I don't think we planned for it that way.
No.
Simon and Allie, most looking forward to?
Yeah, I was looking forward to family and friends and all that good times.
Good times.
Yeah.
We often joke that we like did it for the party.
Yeah.
You know, and we really didn't want the party to end.
Yeah.
Like we were the last ones up.
Yeah.
We didn't, well, because we had it at our house. So we couldn't.
Venue owner too.
Yeah. So we were like, well,
Yep.
until everyone leaves, we gotta stay up. No, they didn't.
People crash couches and stuff, but
But I just have the most tremendous like warmth when I think of that time and day and the people, and like I feel like we did it right.
Yeah.
Because we love our friends and family so much, and it was really for them. It had nothing.
Yeah, totally. Very cool. All right, Michael and Casey.
I think for us, I was really looking forward to just the celebration. Like, I think that's the key, and everyone that we love just having a good time. That was top priority, I think, for us. Because we didn't really, like,
The food.
personally, I was like, we've been living together for like 4 years. Like, we were married. Like, we were like, common law, like essentially, like, you know, but we just wanted to have, and then COVID happened, and we were hemming and hawing about, do we really need to do this? Do we want to do this? But at the end of the day, that was like having a wedding is such, it's momentous, and it's a symbol for a reason. And I think that's just like a moment for everybody to come together, everyone that you love, and share that. So that's something that we really cherished, and something that I was looking forward to, and everybody had a good time. So which was just
Michael and I had many conversations about how many people should be at our wedding, and you know, to make it a momentous occasion. He wanted it to be intimate, and you know, in all seriousness, like for two gay men to be open about their love and to share that with people was super important for us. And so there were a lot of, you know, choices that we made that like represented that, or tried to capture that. That was very, very important for us. And the food, so much like the memories and the, like, you know, what are we gonna do? The food was important. We're huge foodies. And so experiencing that was really important for us.
Very cool. I mean, you've all touched on some of the keys when it comes to planning is really understanding your vision and your values and having that actually come to alignment throughout the planning process, which can be easier said than done. I definitely find with couples, and maybe you found this too, but it's so easy to get pulled in all these directions and fall down like the Instagram rabbit hole or the Pinterest, the Pinterest
mood boards.
And it's really tempting to want to do everything. So I'm curious, now that you've outlined a little bit about what those were, what you're most looking forward to, more about how you got there. Did you sit down and like set out your main goals? Was it a lot of conversations? Did we break open a bottle of wine? Or did you even sit down before you started? Did this just kind of come naturally and progressively through the planning process? I mean, Nave and Alana, I know you had a lot of really good purpose and intention. You've talked about like picking a destination on purpose and everything. So yeah, how did that conversation start?
Yeah, I think we did start with a conversation about priorities, and we had some like non-negotiables that we really just wanted to make sure that we had. And like I said, for me, that was like the memories, and for Navio, like food, drink, music, the experience. So I think that that kind of kept us going whenever we felt like we were getting like a little bit kind of pulled in a certain direction. We'd be like, how does this like align with our vision that we want? So.
And we didn't have something like super concrete, but I think something that naturally happened was we knew that we didn't want to follow tradition for the sake of following tradition.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not like we had the most super unique wedding that nobody has ever had before, but we're like questioning some things that we should have done. And then you can see examples online of how well it looks or how good it looks when you do that thing. We're like, but do we really want
Should we have done that?
Yeah.
Shouldn't we? Yeah, what should we have done? Yeah.
And did you find yourself then like asking why? Like if you were, you know, looking at Pinterest late at night and you're like, we need these hanging lanterns, it just has to happen. So like, why?
Well, yeah, I think we did. We were just like, yeah, what does this bring? Like, what would this do for us? What would this do for our guests? What would this do for everyone coming together? Like, and if it wasn't really necessary, we just didn't want it.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, like we didn't do like favors, for example. Like we just felt like, you know, no one, well, I've taken a lot of like name coasters. So I have like a stack of them that have my name on them at home.
And we love them.
We do love them.
I use them for
we actually
real.
do use them.
Yeah,
but it's just sort of like
the bottle openers or the keys or things that you maybe see.
And we do, we love them and we do use them, but we find that like that doesn't like resonate for us. So.
And I've seen piles of it at weddings I've attended where people just left them behind, and I'm like, okay, like you can't take another person's plate. So that's gone.
Very common. Like a one option only use kind of item.
Yeah, we didn't have a cake either.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we had a dessert board. Yeah, so we had an impromptu dessert moment.
Yeah, we had churros.
And we crossed arms and ate churros.
But we didn't see any of those things coming. So yeah, we just knew that
Very cool. So got there, I mean, a bit intentionally to start with, and then kept those questions going as you went along. Very cool. Yeah, again, priorities. I often say it's a little bit like house hunting when you're planning a wedding. You might get 5 of the 7 things that you consider non-negotiable or really must-haves, but always encouraging people to start the conversation, sit down with a bottle of wine, make a night out of it, and talk through it all. But speaking of wine, should we get a drink in our hand?
Yes.
Yeah.
We invited Twist of Fate, a local event bartending company, to make our couples a cocktail featuring local and sustainable ingredients, something they specialize in.
So this cocktail is called the Citrus Ginger Mojito. We're using 2 different spirits in here. Both are kind of rum. Now, in BC, we can't actually technically make rum. Rum has to be distilled from sugarcane to be actually called rum. One of these products is a BC product. It's made in the style of rum, but it's actually distilled from honey, locally made honey, and the spirit is from the Saanich Peninsula, from Divine Distillery. So we're using closest we can come to rum in BC, along with a wonderful rum from Nicaragua, Flor de Caña, which is fair trade certified. It's a fully carbon neutral spirit. They use 100% renewable energy, and so they're just a really good ethical brand to support. So Flor de Caña, they're 5-year honey shine silver in our version of a mojito. We've got our own citrus ginger syrup that we've made from scratch. We're using a lot of the rind, a lot of the zest of the oranges and limes that are in there to really use as much of the fruit as possible. And then some mint in here as well, of course. It is a mojito after all. When in season, we grow mint, among other herbs that we use in our cocktails in our very own garden. Here we have our citrus ginger mojito.
All right. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
To wedding planning.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. 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 Cheers.
Oh, wow.
That's good.
Very nice.
Okay, so we've got a cocktail in hand. We've talked about the plans that we started with anyway. I'm curious to hear a bit more about if anyone got pulled off track or really, besides COVID, changed things. I mean, Michael and Casey, I know that you had a clear vision, but maybe a lot of ideas that were floating around. Did you find it hard to not get, pulled in every direction?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, why not?
We had a moment, it was called the mood board moment. So throughout the planning process, there were clear moments where we were, making decisions, and they were mostly budget related. So it was like, we started with a budget, we were, coming back to it, updating it. But then randomly, there would be these moments where there would be ideas coming at us at like 5,000 miles an hour. And one time specifically, we were at a nice restaurant in Calgary. We had just come from the mountains. I was like, let's enjoy this. And Michael was having what I called a mood board moment. Like, we should do that. And oh my gosh, we'd have this. And immediately I started thinking like, okay, well, how much is that gonna cost? And who's gonna do that? And I would spiral like the opposite direction. And it kind of created this friction between us that we had just summed up, like it needs a mood board title. So it was like, if you're gonna have these mood board moments where you're kind of throwing out ideas and you're just kind of like getting the juices flowing, that's fine, but I needed a moment, a heads up before, because immediately I went into planning mode and like, how is that gonna happen? And
how do we execute this? Exactly. How's it actually gonna come?
And like, how does that relate to our initial ideas? And like, where is all this coming from? While I was trying to enjoy a beautiful meal.
So y'all maybe navigated it by coming back to, hey, like we're real people doing this real thing. And by the way, that's kind of stressful. So
yes.
It was a good teachable moment for sure for us to like how to communicate and like, because you forget, like, sometimes we just get into the rhythm of like planning, and like it was like, to be fair, that was like a few months before. So we're trying to get into, because you start the planning with the bigger picture, and then like you just slowly closer to the date, you think about the little details, and then you kind of get into that spiral, the slight like that like scary part of like, oh my God, what is the arrangement's gonna look like? At the end of the day, those things really like doesn't matter. Like it just kind of like the day of the wedding, like everything just works out. Thankfully for us, like we were very fortunate, but yeah, looking back, it was.
Yeah, that was like 2 months before, wasn't it? In August. Yeah. It
Details?
was 2 months before.
Yeah. Rad and Rob, you made a very big decision and priority in having this surprise wedding without maybe the typical community around you to either be pulling at you or to support, but did you find yourself pulled from that any time or almost pulled from the path, or were you pretty steadfast?
Can I take this in the beginning?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Go for it.
So the reason that we had a surprise wedding is because I'd seen couples that I'd worked with get pulled in different directions because of the amount of expectations people had around them. And so then you see them kind of going in like a bigger direction when they really wanted to go small, or like spending more on like flowers or like centerpiece or like the place settings, and they actually didn't really want to do all of that. So, and then also like, it's been brought up, the Pinterest and the Instagram rabbit hole happens, and you're just like, do I need all of this? Well, everyone else in the world is doing all of this, so I must need it too, right? Yeah. So the decision for having a surprise wedding mostly laid with me being a wedding planner. I felt like people would expect a lot from me. So I was like, if we're gonna do like a sit down dinner, we need to like bring it. And so I kind of was like, maybe we don't do that. But then I was also torn because like I'd been married before, Rob hadn't. Right. So it was like, what if he wants all of like the traditional stuff, right? So that's kind of like where our conversations were in the very beginning.
Very cool. And you stayed pretty true?
Yeah. Well, I was really excited to hear something completely different because I love the idea of something completely out of the norm. And I was never one that saw the like big white wedding, you know, black suit, all of the groomsmen. I'd been in a few weddings as well. And I really loved the idea that we were doing something that not only took the pressure off us for planning it, because we didn't have a lot of those outside influences on like, oh, you really need to invite this person, you really need to have, you know, this formal setting, or, you know, your mother-in-law or mom or dad or whoever in your ear saying, well, you know, this is what we had for our wedding. I think I was really lucky in the fact too that my parents got married in a fairly untraditional way. So I kind of had that background of like, well, you don't have to do what everybody else is doing.
Yes, and so you set yourselves up, it sounds like from the get-go, to kind of not maybe be in even a position to get pulled away, which is really smart and very, very different. I think a good point as to how it can just be your day, your way.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you all did a really good job of setting intentions. I'm just curious, with sustainability in mind now, when we think about, you know, having a wedding that isn't just full of excess for no reason and what really brings value, do you feel like the intentions you set helped you in that, or is there anything you maybe would have done differently to make it more sustainable in that?
We were talking about this on the way here, actually, and I think we could have done a little bit more due diligence in asking where things came from. We kind of took it for granted that the catering and like the people making the cake and like even like the alcohol, like we sourced it, but like we should have done like a little bit more to make sure that it was actually coming locally and not coming off island or being sourced by, I don't know, Guatemala or something.
So maybe because, and that wasn't one of the big intentions or priorities you set out with, it was maybe something that got a little bit pushed into the background because it was more about bringing people together, right, for you two?
Yeah. And like we did try to keep everything like as local as possible. I think like, so like the cake got walked in and the catering came from Esquimalt, and like I think the furthest vendor had to come from like Machosen. But I think it just started to become well, we have to pull off this big surprise, and that was like the main focus. Yeah.
You guys, you had like really good intentions.
Yeah. And I think like it came about naturally with not doing things for the sake of tradition. Right. So it really made it not easy, but easier to say no to things. So that would have limited some excess. I think we were really fortunate too to have really good vendors that worked well together as a team. And so I think back now with our bar service, Twist of Fate, they sourced all the alcohol locally, but it's not like we chose them because of that. Right. But now as an afterthought, I'm like, oh, that really helped. Or the caterer, their food was also sourced locally, so that helped. But that probably was a byproduct of the team who that kind of helped us with that sustainable piece without us being very intentional about it.
Yeah, but you still didn't get bogged down in all those, you know, extra decor moments or the Instagrammable.
No, we find ways to Instagram without a big moment. We're like, we'll take selfies. But yeah, no, we didn't get kind of caught up in the smaller details. Nice. We tried not to, at least.
Honestly, I'm really impressed with all the different kind of intentions that were set here and the way you work together to stick with them. It's always very cool to hear after the process, because we start with couples, but then to hear how it actually came to fruition and how you worked through those problems, super valuable. And you guys just spoke about vendors, actually, which is where we're going to head to next. So great segue. And I think we can pause for a minute. Heck yeah. Good job, friends.
You guys are also good. Enjoy your cocktails for a moment.
Yes, drink.